Oh, okay, I'm on. There it is. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is not gonna be a MOBA video. This is gonna be a video that is just gonna be an update telling you why my MOBA videos are taking so long to do. And that's because I'm working on a few other projects. This is one of them. This is a big one. I'm making an action game. And it's going to be of the likes of a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta. I'll show you a little bit about how it plays. So it's meant to be very fast. Like, I have a dash. The camera, I still have work to do on the camera. That's why the collision is so funky. But there's a lot of stuff I'm learning about making action games with this. And oh my gosh, a big one is the camera. A big one is that's probably the second biggest one, but the big thing I'm focusing on with this this particular game is the actual feel of the action. I really want it to feel good when you hit something. And the way I'm doing that is I'm doing a lot of research on melee action games, mostly platinum games. So like a lot of Bayonetta, but I have played a lot of Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden to get a lot of inspiration from those games too. The thing I've been researching lately is where action games are and where they're going. And so that's a big thing that I'm kind of getting into, and a lot of it is coming from Platinum Games, because I believe that they're just kind of where it's at in terms of action games. So what I've been doing is looking a lot of Platinum Games channel and getting a lot of inspiration from that. They have like debug clips and stuff from Bayonetta and a lot of their other action games, but they kind of show breakdowns of how their action kind of works. And I think the biggest thing I've taken away from all this is when animating a melee attack of my own. Now I'm using 3ds Max. Is that obviously, like, for FPS matters, frames per second. I'm gonna try to get my game to run at 60. So I'm gonna be sacrificing some visual fidelity for that. But the difference is like making your animation feel snappy. So this is an example of a 2-hit combo. The anatomy, the way that my attacks work, and like how I'm making them is I'm using a lot of principles of animations. If you don't know, if you don't know a lot about animation, I would suggest looking up the Walt Disney's 12 Rules of Animation, I believe it is. And they go over a lot of what makes like good animation. But one of the principles I'm using is slow in, slow out, with kind of an asterisk in there. So the lead into this attack I have is about 10 frames, give or take. Right, so up to like about frame 10, and then it goes into the attack itself. The attack itself, which goes from like over here to the swing part, is about 5 frames, give or take. So it's like 10 frames, you get the step, 5 frames, you get the actual attack, and then from there it's like about 25 frames is when you get to the end of that animation, and you go into the transition for the next. Now the game in game, you're not going to see this like transition, this floating transition. So we're going to omit those 10 frames right here, and then it starts again. So I have a lot of lead in. So he gets his scythe at his back, and then it's about 6 frames. Well, so I guess it would start right here. Yeah, because that's right. He goes and takes a step forward first, and then from that step forward, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 4 or 5 frames from when he's done stepping forward to contact. So he's got he's got the lead in, and then the hit, which is the fastest thing, and then this one he's got some transition where he just kind of bangs his weapon, and then he drags it back. So this in my game counts as a second hit right here. So this the lead in, and the end of this attack is the lead in for this next one, and then I have about 10 frames to the end of it. So in about 10 frames he transitions back to idle. So that's basically the anatomy of how I'm making these animations, and that's I feel I'm getting the best results using that technique of like slow in, very fast like actual contact, like where the contact frame would be. It's like 4 to 5 frames, maybe 4 to 6 of actual contact frames, and then the end, like the outro of the animation, has the most frames, just depending on how you want to transition. And I feel that this is in a lot of this is in the spirit of how they make their animations feel very good. And oh, that's the enemy. A big one it also is that the prototype. So this is the Bayonetta prototype. This was like way before, this was like when they first started working on Bayonetta, and like you can see all the animations are like 1 frame, and they're very snappy and fast, and like on Hideki Kamiya's blog, when he was talking about that, he states that like having less frames in there allowed him to give a good feel to the actual combos and like the actual moves. So the less frames it takes to strike initially, I think the more snappy and the better the feel is. So getting that balance of like frames that it takes to get your point across, to how many frames it takes to the next move. That's the next thing, is that the way that this works is that from the lead in all the way till about here or so I have in game, so about 16 frames. This 16 frames has to play for right now, and then anything past that you can cancel, so you can transition out of this animation into something else. But like in terms of what I think I'm gonna do, a lot of times what they do in what Platinum Games does is they just anywhere in the animation you can cancel from, no matter where you're at. You can cancel the attack. They just give you that much freedom. However, in games in the past, like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, there's some commitment to your attack, and so I think I'm kind of leaning toward that aspect of it, of making the player commit to their action, just to give some challenge. As well, the other thing I wanted to kind of show off here was the enemy attack. So the enemy attack that I've designed here for this enemy in particular, it has some like 30 frames of like telegraphing, and then it's got about 8 frames of like actual like contact frames, and then I want to say about 20 frames of like of just like transition going back into idle. And so it might seem like overkill, but basically it kind of makes sense, like having the enemy, what a lot of times what Platinum Games does is they have like their enemies like telegraph a lot. Makes them feel dynamic. It gives you an idea of what they're going to do, and this gives you the player a lot of choice, because during this whole time you can keep, like that whole lead up, you can keep attacking him. You can choose to dodge. You can choose to plan a parry or plan witch time, and a lot of their enemies, they're accented with effects, and it just makes their enemies a lot more dynamic, even though they're not as fast as you, obviously, but their behaviors give them a feel, and give them like a pattern that you can recognize and respond to. And this is all in the service of giving the player a lot of choice from what to do. If they see the enemies, if they know what the enemy's doing, then they can start thinking about how to respond. And I think the challenge is that, like, do you commit to what you're doing now? Do you avoid it? Do you try to kill them? Do you try to do something else? Do you like, it's just a lot of options that I think come of it, and I think it's really, really cool. A really good way, like, to design your enemy. So that's kind of what I've done here. Is just kind of, I'm planning on giving the enemies like very dynamic, very well-read options in terms of attacks. In Bayonetta, there's also some enemies that attack faster. They're still slower, like pretty slow, but like the faster ones still make it like challenging to telegraph against. So if you mix those with enemies like this, then you can get some pretty interesting combinations. And I think that's what all this is in service to, is that when you design enemies with dynamic attacks like this, and each of them are different. So if I designed one that, instead of like winding up and trying to stab, if I had one that lifted his arm up like he was going to do an overhead, or I had one that just charged at you and tried to not like hit you, putting those enemies in combinations like this, if the player can see these behaviors and respond in kind, then putting combinations of these enemies together can give really interesting combat results in terms of like how the player responds to them. So that's kind of what I'm going to be going for with that. Also, like the effects and stuff, I think are going to add another dimension. I used to think that making like really good looking and feeling combat had to do with hit stop. So that's like the process of like basically freezing freezing everything for the instant that you got hit for a short period of time, just to like give power to it. But I had done that prior, and it does kind of feel good once, maybe twice, But if you do that for a whole combo, it gets jarring and it actually works against you. So what I find what a lot of games do is they only use that when they want to accentuate a big hit, like a really hard hit, a critical hit, or like a really good finisher move, because that's kind of like the cherry on top that gives you the extra umph. And so I'm gonna definitely have hit stop, but it's only going to be for really, really big, heavy hits. And that, I think, is the best way to use hit stop. So I think as far as getting hit, like I have like a hit montage here. I've animated several hit animations. So this is a basic hit. This is a basic hit. And then this hit right here, I have a move where he brings the scythe overhead and drags them down, and then another one where he forces them forward. And so that's kind of what I'm going to use that for. He's going to force them down and then pull them, like hook them forward. That's kind of the behavior I'm going to do with that. And so in order to get those to fire off, what I'm doing is I'm assigning each strike that I have with the scythe. I'm going to assign it like a type of strike. So it'll be like either a vertical hit, a horizontal hit, like a pull move or something like that. That way I can assign those in the enemy animation. Let me go ahead and find it here. Oh wait, let me see. That's right, I made a... So right now I have a montage that chooses what hit animation. So like I can choose what hit that I want them to do when they get hit. And so my plan is that I'm going to actually have like an integer that chooses from a list of section names from the montage, that's going to dynamically assign which section name to pull from when you get hit according to what type of slash you're doing or what type of melee hit it is. And so I think that will work just fine. But I've been working on this for quite a while, since not necessarily this particular one, but learning how to make action games in Unreal Engine 4. I started very early when they had UDK. That's when I first started learning Unreal, way back when. And I hadn't really been thinking about action games or making them. I had been thinking about action games, but not necessarily making them. And so I had gotten used to enough to the way Unreal Engine works at this point that I had started. So once Unreal Engine became free and you could download it, and I started immediately working on a prototype here. So this is a very early action game prototype that I started making, and like it's this real basic action game. Like you can launch people like way up there in the air. You have this like basic 3-hit combo with a launcher. You can't. He has this really sorry excuse for a shield. But you can't block right, in this prototype. But, getting all these effects and everything working, it was giving the dimension to it. This thing is really rough, but this is where this is where the game kind of started was this prototype right here. And I started learning about collision and how animations link into each other. And I think the best thing for combos is a montage, an animation montage, just because like it gives you a lot of control, and stuff. So I mean, yeah, this is kind of where the prototype started. Just to give some history on that. I don't think I'll go. I keep that there just kind of for sentimental reasons. I don't necessarily think I'm going to go back to that, but this is now where it's at. Is this prototype here? It's where I've put most of the lessons I've learned with all this together, and I think it's making something actually coherent, and that matters. So, yeah, this is kind of what's been taking up most of my time. So that's basically it. I just wanted to give you guys an update as to why it takes so long for me to get a MOBA video out, and this is one of the big reasons why. Is because I work on this quite a bit. Anyway, I hope to share more of this project with you guys, and I hope that you guys will stay interested in my channel. I'm planning on doing another MOBA video soon. I'm actually doing some research on AI, so that like I don't like just make a video of doing nothing. I actually want to make some progress for you guys. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.